Oh man, he just shot that guy in the eyeball. Holy cow. Oh. Oh, impaled. And those guys are just workers. I'm Alex Ross. I am an illustrator for comic books and painter. Let me try that again, sorry. Well, that was probably pretty complete, right? GATCHAMAN. I've been a comics fan my entire life, and I've always emulated what I saw on television, either seeing a guy dressed up in a Spider-Man costume on the Electric Company when I was a kid, or seeing Battle of the Planets on television when I was a child. All these things I really wanted to get involved with one day. I'm most notable for two major projects in comics. I did a painted series for Marvel Comics called Marvels. That was a painted tour of the Marvel Universe historically from the point of its earliest characters to the late 60s, and dealing with popular characters like Captain America, Spider-Man, and the Human Torch. And then I went from Marvel Comics over to DC, where I did the series Kingdom Come, which was sort of stepping into the future of how the world of superheroes would get older and potentially come to an end of sorts. I'm known for being a guy who's interpreted the world of superheroes through a painted, realistic vision, as well as sort of a slanted view of interpreting it from my own fandom. When I must have been like 8 or 9 years old, I saw the Battle of the Planets show, I think in syndication at a friend's house. I was very struck with the look of the show. There's an energy, an animated quality to it that's unlike anything visually you would have ever seen on any Hanna-Barbera show, or certainly any Warner Brothers Looney Tunes stuff. It was so new and fresh and exciting that it felt so much more striking than the comic books I was consuming on a regular basis. There's a certain quality of the cut of clothing to a way that when you show the design of a boot, that you don't necessarily have the boot that's constantly cut off right around mid-calf, which is constant for American superheroes. Everybody from Spider-Man to Superman to Batman, Wonder Woman, they all have that sort of constant cut. You know, in Japan, you were getting something where, you know, it'd be the thigh-high boot, or you'd get an angle cut into something that would create a whole different layout of the way the human figure was cut up. It wouldn't be by holding to certain belt lines, and, you know, everything was subject to change. As certain characters are known throughout all time, characters of, like I said, American superheroes, you know, that realistically don't change as the decades go on. They're considered to be timeless icons. I think the same thing is true of GATCHAMAN. These are some of the true icons of anime, and hopefully just for what I would consider the superhero archetypes, that they belong amongst that pantheon of great characters. GATCHAMAN. There's an interesting way in which I came to Battle of the Planets and GATCHAMAN, in that I just wanted a chance to do an illustration of these characters, at least just one time in my adulthood. And I thought maybe I'll find some window by which somebody who has the rights will allow me to do one print one time. And nothing really happened with this idea, but I worked up this composition that's the one we were just filming, actually, the one with all the characters jumping out in a circle. I was trying to imagine a composition that had everything about that show that I loved. All the character designs, the villains, whatever, the ship. And I had been sketching this out somewhere around the mid-90s. So it was just sort of sitting around as a thought. And there was an article done in Wizard about cartoon properties from the 1980s that I believe they called the Big 80s. So they got different top-name illustrators in comics at the time to do their new versions of these shows, everything from Transformers to He-Man. And having seen the article, I petitioned them that please create another one of these, except do it about the 70s, so that I can get a chance to do one illustration of GATCHAMAN. And they opened the door for me to do this, so I knew this would also be a chance to put out an olive branch possibly to whoever was the license holder, because somebody reading this magazine is going to know. And so what happened is somebody would come in to basically contact Wizard and let them know, yes, it is so-and-so, which was, in this case, Sandy Frank, who still had the rights from the 70s all the way up through the 90s to the GATCHAMAN characters. They had done many versions of the GATCHAMAN show through Battle of the Planets as one version, and then they sold it to Ted Turner for a while as a version of G-Force. That was another redubbing of the same shows. And so it had been seen by multiple generations going through the years, but for the most part was pretty vacant from the marketplace of American stuff, certainly comic books. And since comic books were certainly the focus of my professional career, I wanted to see them make an impact upon that marketplace to really reemerge and be respected in that world as a group of characters. I started to feel that it was really weirdly ironic that I would get to be so pivotally involved with something that I figured had much more importance above me as a kid, seeing it as this distant thing I was influenced by at the age of 8 or 9. And now I'm becoming very important in its life. That's the hope for anybody who is a fan of something, is that they can hopefully one day become involved. GATCHAMAN. I've always tried to be as supporting as I can be with every new venture with GATCHAMAN, and knowing that there was going to be a major investment into that 100-something episodes of the show to present them as they were, the original scripts intact, the original names and presentation, going back to the name GATCHAMAN. This is really the original undiluted, Seven's Arc 7'd version of this thing. As much as I love the American version, and I do, there's so much more at the core of where this came from. This thing was so pure and perfect in its invention in 1973, I believe. There's a certain style to the 70s version of it that has a context and a feel that's very surreal, very striking. It takes you to someplace different. It's not going to be the same as modern anime. There's something that has 70s anime that has just an incredible vibrancy and energy that's so powerful and striking and vicious. You can feel something's very different with the show. There's a look to the faces and energy, just when the faces would scream at one another, the way that their expressions would vibrate, the anger that was in the eyebrows of Mark and Jason. It's just, it's electric, and it's something that really captivated me as a kid. There's a certain quality of the line drawing and in sort of the inking of the characters that has a grit to it that in a way has been cleaned out of animation in anime for the 30 years since. The stuff has become much more refined, and so you don't have this certain kind of dirtiness to the look of the artwork, but that's so much a quality of the artwork that it, in a way, looks hand-drawn, and that's so nice in the way it comes across. I would still say that GATCHAMAN is edgier than most of the television animation you will have seen. GATCHAMAN. The illustration for the cover of the box set is much like the first illustration I was thinking of doing for Battle of the Planets back when I was penciling out in the mid-90s. I had done this design not knowing where it could ever fall, not knowing if it would be a book cover or what have you. I just knew there was this image I wanted to do of just studying the faces of the lead characters out of costume and then flowing into an action shot of them. And somewhere it had to take form, and it just took a number of years before that opportunity came through ADV. And getting the contact to do this, I knew immediately what image it had to be. It was already there on the page to say, okay, this is finally where this piece is going to come to life. When I interpret normal superheroes from either DC or Marvel Comics, it's always to make it seem like it's very much in a human skin in a way that I'm taking whatever exaggerated details might have been there through many artist versions of them and making them seem as realistic as possible. Here with GATCHAMAN, I don't want to lose any amount of the exaggeration of either the hairstyle or the faces, the size of their eyes, and this is just not normal for my my normal artwork. And getting in this close on their faces, studying that tightly, is something that I wanted to examine with appreciation, to sort of hand off maybe the appreciation that I have, so that people can see like something special in the way of their design, just as faces, just as people. So, I mean, I can do a million different illustrations of them in costume, and you see what's different about the costumes, but there's something more critical to the human equation. I don't want to have them be reworked through my interpretation of them. I want to see them as they were. And my involvement demands that you get a little bit more color and rendering, but I don't want to have to put my mark on them, because in a way, their mark is plenty cool as it was.
Oh, GATCHAMAN, GATCHAMAN. Ha ha!